Well, welcome to the campus of Southwestern Oklahoma State University. Let me start out by apologizing for my voice, as many of you probably also suffering from allergies and stuff due to the season. But anyway, it's great to have all of you here to join us on this auspicious and historic occasion. Before we get started, I would like to make some introductions first, and I will save our introductions at the head table till later. And if you would hold your applause, I'd like to introduce our mayor of the great city of Weatherford, Mike Brown. Mike also, I believe, Rick Miller, city commissioner. Rick, Rick's right back there. Do I have any other city commissioners? You know, we're very, very grateful for the partnership we have with the city of Weatherford, and that's what makes this project and others possible. Also, our great relationship, you know, we couldn't do what we do without the support of the state of Oklahoma. We have the Honorable Darcy Yeck, who is a state senator for this area coming up. So good to have you. Representative Anthony Moore. Anthony, thank you for being here. And we have a couple of former state representatives that I'd like to introduce. We have former Speaker Pro Tem of the House, Harold Wright. Harold, thank you. And we also have former Texas State Representative Kevin Roberts, who is a good friend of the Hodges from Houston, Texas. Kevin, thank you for being here. As many of you know, this will be one of my final appearances officially as president of Southwestern, and it's a little bit bittersweet, but I have great respect and enthusiasm for the future of Southwestern because our board has selected a great successor with roots here in Weatherford that will do a fine job in the future, Dr. Diane Lovell. Diane, thank you. We also have Steve Carson from Senator Lankford's office. Steve, thank you for being here. And of course, a big part of this and a big part of the future of this institution, we have two foundation boards. And I'd like to have anyone that's representing them stand. So first of all, our Pharmacy Foundation Board, if you would stand or wave your hand if you're here representing the Pharmacy Foundation Board. Thank you all for being here. We also have our Southwestern Foundation represented here. Those of you on our Foundation Board for Southwestern, if you would stand or raise your hand. Thank you. Of course, our governing board, the Russo board, as I mentioned before, you'll get to hear from the chair, Susan Winchester, in a moment. But our area representative on that board from Elk City, Regent Lake Carpenter. Lake, thank you for being here. And with the Oklahoma A&M board, we're excited about future developments with health sciences, with OSU, and very pleased to have here one of my old friends, Regent Joe Hall from Elk City. Regent Hall. And, you know, I couldn't do this without a lot of the great staff that we have. And I'd like to point out some of the people that helped with this immensely. Brian Adler, Patty Harper, Garrett King, Clark Hale, Kerry Jones, everyone from the Pharmacy Foundation staff, the SWOSU Foundation staff, and then all of our faculty, staff, and administration of this institution. Thank you very much. And finally, we wouldn't be successful without the great support of our community and business leaders here in this city and the surrounding region. Thank all of you that represent Weatherford, Clinton, the surrounding areas that support this university. We could not do these things without your help. Thank you. Jerry and Margaret Hodge, who are seated up here beside me, are synonymous with generosity, philanthropy, and a keen sense of supporting and helping others. The commitment of the Hodges to generously support Southwestern Oklahoma State University with a $5 million gift is being recognized today as the single largest donor donation to this institution in its 122-year history. This gift supports construction and development of the future Jerry and Margaret Hodge Pharmacy and Rural Health Center at SWOSU. The goal of this building project is to establish SWOSU as the center for rural health education in this area. The impact of this gift will be significant, not only to this university, but the thousands of future graduates that will benefit with degrees in the health sciences. Those graduates, in turn, will continue that positive impact by practicing their healing craft in the rural communities of Oklahoma and bring adequate professional health care where it is desperately needed. We are very grateful for this generosity and this vision. The Hodge donation will complement the $7 million in resources provided by the recently passed sales tax by the citizens of Weatherford with a focus on rural health sciences and continues to expand other higher education institutions. And these partnerships could lead to SWOSU students having access to such things as physician's assistance programs and the possibility of a dual degree program through the SWOSU College of Pharmacy. This is a long-term goal and priority of SWOSU that will be powerfully and positively impacted by the Hodge gift. The gift will also establish a substantial new endowment benefiting students enrolled in the SWOSU College of Pharmacy. The endowment component of the donation, $500,000 to both the Pharmacy Foundation and SWOSU Foundations. Those foundations have committed to raising equal amounts of the matching funds. And I call on our alumnus and all good friends now, we will be reaching out to you. This is a major challenge, but it is a very, very positive goal that we can reach in establishing a $1 million endowment for the College of Pharmacy. Jerry Hodge is the former chairman and chief executive officer of Maxor National Pharmacy Services. He is a 1965 graduate of our SWOSU College of Pharmacy and longtime supporter of the university. He was inducted into the SWOSU Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame in 1979 and was honored by the SWOSU College of Pharmacy as Outstanding Alumnus in 2008. In 2005, the Jerry and Margaret Hodge Endowed Scholarship was established at SWOSU. Since its inception, the fund has provided a total of $60,000 in scholarship awards to 52 pharmacy students. Hodge was born in Carnegie and attended a two-room country school outside of Mountain View through the 8th grade before moving to Amarillo, where he graduated in 1960 from Tascosa High. Following his graduation from SWOSU, he purchased Maxor Drug in Amarillo and transformed it from a small community drugstore into Maxor National Pharmacy Services Corporation, a company that at one time employed nearly 500 people in Amarillo and more than 660 people nationwide. He has served as Maxor's chairman and CEO until he retired in 2016. It was through his work that Jerry met Margaret, who worked for Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. They married in 1994, and with her help and her medical background, the two of them helped build Maxor into a national company. He served on the Texas State Board of Pharmacy from 1981 to 87, including a stint as president from 84 to 85. He is a past president of the Texas Panhandle Pharmaceutical Association and was a charter member of the American Society of Consulting Pharmacists. At the age of 34, Hodge was elected as the youngest mayor in Amarillo history, serving 2 terms. In 2018, he was named the Amarillo Globe News Man of the Year for his many civic, business, and charitable contributions to Amarillo. The Hodges, Jerry and Margaret, have 4 children, 9 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. Please join me in giving a great SWOSU welcome and show of appreciation for Jerry and Margaret Hodge. Jerry?
Thank you. You guys are kind, and Randy, thank you very much for those remarks, and I'm glad you didn't dig up all my history. I'd made some notes, but I've kind of going to go just off the cuff. First of all, let me say that Southwestern is kind of a family university for us. My mother is a graduate of Southwestern. I have 1 aunt, 2 uncles, so many cousins that are graduates, I can't even think of all of them. I have a former brother-in-law. There was also with Maxor, Carl Birdsong, played football here, played professional football. He and I were brother-in-law, and he started working at Maxor when he was in high school all the way through Southwestern in his pro football career, and he retired a few years ago after 30 years with Maxor. And not only, I may have been ahead of my time, I gotta be politically correct.
Please.
I had a theory when we were building Maxor, and Kevin was with me since I kind of helped raise him, but I kind of screwed that up at times too. But when we were building Maxor, I had this critical pharmacy theory, and we tried to hire Southwestern graduates, and we had them in Seattle. Kevin, you remember the young guy? Well, there were 2 brothers. They're both Southwestern graduates. I got a whole list of them. Colorado Springs, what? Oh, yes, we had a bunch. Colorado Springs, Denver, Fort Worth, Nashville. We were able to get Southwestern graduates in every one of those places. Plus in Amarillo, we had probably 15 or 20 Southwestern graduates working for Maxor. And they were just better. Maybe I was prejudiced, but they very smart, most of them, and but they all had good work ethics and very honorable and very loyal to Maxar. So that's one of the reasons that I've always tried to hire Southwestern pharmacists, and we still got a bunch of them there today. And where's Patty? Some of your classmates are still with Maxar. Most of them have been there 20, 25 years. That's the loyalty of the Southwestern students. So I've got to be kind of honest, and I don't know how much time you guys want to listen to me, but life is full of obstacles and circumstances, and you got to take advantage of both of them. My first obstacle was that my mother wanted a brown-haired, brown-eyed little girl, and I was blonde-headed and blue-eyed, and but she called me Jerry Ann until the day that was an obstacle, guys. You think about going to a two-room country school, and my mother taught me 4 of those years, which was 4 of my tougher years, but always referred to me to Jerry Ann. You do not know how many fights I got in over that. So the other circumstance, and this is important to me, I always calculated my grades, and I didn't want to overdo it. I wanted to have the grade point I needed to get into pharmacy school, and so that was that. I had it all figured out until my last semester of my pre-pharmacy school, and I didn't get the grade in physics I thought I was going to get because I had physics in high school and made good grades in it. Well, I didn't get my grade. So that dropped me down, and I was short of credits, grade points, to get into pharmacy school. I had one final left, and it was Dr. Dale Hanson. And I went into him, I said, Dr. Hanson, I got to have an A in accounting. He said, Jerry, you can't get an A. You were supposed to do the workbook, and I told you at the beginning of the year, you don't do the workbook, then I'm going to drop you a grade. I said, but Dr. Hanson, you know, I know the stuff. I made A's on all the tests. He said, you're not getting an A. I said, well, you don't understand. If I don't get an A, I don't get into pharmacy school, and I got to have an A. And he says, okay, I tell you what, you make 100 on the final, you'll get an A. I never got my final back, but I got my A, and I got into pharmacy school. Now that, for the professors that are watching, don't be too rigid. There's some guys out there, some people need some flexibility. I was one of them. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Dr. Hanson. And if I hadn't got my pharmacy degree, I wouldn't have purchased Maxar after I was out of pharmacy school for a year. And if I hadn't purchased Maxar, I wouldn't have got the contract with Johns Hopkins in 1991, where I met Margaret, and she started chasing me immediately. And we married in 1994, and with her support and unbelievable support and encouragement, we were able to really take Maxar off. And it was our first big contract outside of Amarillo in the Texas Panhandle, and we ended up through that contract doing Long Island Jewish and in New York and all over. And Kevin was part of a lot of that growth back before he left and went to a law firm and left me out there. But you know, back to Dr. Hanson, I've had the opportunity to be in contract negotiations, and Kevin knows this, with mainly on the East Coast, anywhere from New Hampshire to Boston, a lot of stuff in New York we did, and they've got all these at Harvard, Yale, MBAs and all of this, and they always feel like I'm just a pharmacist. I always say, now let me tell you something. I had a 4 point in accounting. So You're not going to slip it by me. You know, the other thing, I've been very fortunate, and Margaret and I have been blessed to be able to do this. And it's something we believe in. We believe in this university, and without it, I wouldn't be here today. And on the other side of that, I still stay in contact with several of my pharmacy classmates from back in 1965. By the way, I graduated in 1965 without honors. But President Butler said under his power and authority, he could change my grades and create some honors. Guys, you don't know how much we appreciate this university, the reception we've had, and like I said, it's been a family institution for our family. And I want to thank you very much, and I don't know if Margaret wants to.
I feel the same way, and y'all have been so welcoming and made us feel really special while we've been here, and just want to thank you all so much. And we're grateful and honored that we're here, and grateful that we're able to do what we're doing. And anyway, I'm not very eloquent.
So, you know, life is full of selling, and folks, I did my best selling job getting Margaret to marry me and move from Baltimore, Maryland to Amarillo, Texas. It was a culture shock, but it's been a great 27 years. Yeah. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Again, what a great and significant day in the history of this institution that today is. And Jerry and Margaret, I'm glad that you've been able to help us make that so. This is so extraordinary, and we greatly appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to introduce, of course, this has great ramifications throughout higher education in Oklahoma, as we establish ourselves as a center for healthcare education in rural Oklahoma. And to help bring greetings on behalf of the State Regent's Office is a good friend of mine. For many years he was my speaker. For many years after that, now the Chancellor, Dr. Glenn Johnson. Glenn.
What a special day. I was going to say I could just let that be my remarks, and everybody would probably be pretty happy with that. Couple of things. I think what struck me is, as I listened to that great personal story, Jerry, I mean, this is really what, as Chairman Ann Holloway and I are here today to represent the state regents. Susan Winchester and Lake Carpenter are here to represent the Regional University System Board. This really took me that we're here today to certainly say thank you for your generosity, but to underscore that this is really what higher education is all about, and I mean that very sincerely. If you think about it, what we are witnessing today is partnerships. Both of you, Jerry and Margaret, showed us the way, if you will. The city stepped up, and as someone that's been very familiar with this area of the state and Southwestern for a long time, the partnerships with Southwestern, the city, our legislators are fantastic. I think it's important to, as we have Senator Yeck and Representative Moore and former Speaker Pro Tem Harold Wright, we had the best budget we've had in 13 years in Oklahoma, thanks to these folks in the room that represent us in the legislature. So we've got seed money to continue and to move forward with the gift that you've given us today. And I think let's thank our legislators for their efforts on the budget this year. Senator Yeck, Representative Moore. Kevin, I go back a long way. As President Butler said, I had contemporaries of Gib Lewis and Pete Laney, who are way in history now, but look forward to meeting you when this is over. And thanks so much for coming here today to share in the history of Southwestern Oklahoma State University. This is going to be a historic day in the history of this institution. And what I love most was just hearing the impact that Southwestern had on Jerry and his life. He went from here and certainly had a great experience here, wouldn't have done the things that he's done with Southwestern through scholarships and now this major gift if the experience here with the faculty, with the students, with this campus community was not as positive as it clearly was. And so you look at how that works. This is an opportunity for students going forward to stand on their shoulders, to have opportunities they would not have had. And what better area, what area that really defines what Oklahoma can be in the future other than healthcare. Healthcare is where it's at, and this is going to position Southwestern as a major focal point in the area of healthcare delivery, providing better services to patients. So I think today, as everyone looks and continues to look back and read the history, today is really what all of us are all about. If you dig deep, this is why we're here. This is why we devote our time and our effort to the cause of higher education, because it is important. And when we have alums that come forward and are so generous in their giving because they believe in what you're doing here at Southwestern, that really says it all. So I would just close by saying to Jerry and Margaret today, thank you for showing us the way. We hope that we will, through our efforts at the state regents, be able to continue to provide the momentum for Southwestern as they go forward. I believe their future is bright. I do want to say that my friend, President Randy Butler, has been extraordinary. He's been a leader in state government. He started off as a teacher. He's, as you know, a historian. He's a soon-to-be published author. But most of all, he's been a great president here at Southwestern Oklahoma State University, and my pleasure to work with him. So Jerry and Margaret, thank you. And again, it's our pleasure from Chairman Holloway's standpoint and mine just to be part of a very historic occasion today at Southwestern. Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Chancellor. Now I'd like to introduce and to bring words on behalf of the Oklahoma State Regents, Regent Ann Holloway. Regent Ann Holloway actually, if you want someone to blame, was on the Russo board when I was hired. No. But Regent Holloway served for a period of time on the Russo board and is now chair of the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education. Ladies and gentlemen, Regent Holloway.
There. Usually I have a step stool here. What happened? This is a wonderful day, and it's already been stated by both Jerry and Margaret and the Chancellor what a historic day this actually is. So I'm kind of like you, Jerry. I'm a little bit off the cuff with my remarks. I hope that's okay. I have to share a very short story. A very few years ago, 4 years ago. My husband and I was in Buffalo, New York, and we decided to go over to Niagara Falls, and then we went on into Canada. And we were staying at a hotel there, and this young man saw that we were from Oklahoma, and he said, SWOSU. And I said, pardon? He said, SWOSU, School of Pharmacy. And I was just kind of taken back. I said, oh, you mean Southwestern Oklahoma State University? And he said, yeah, that's what I said, SWOSU. So it was that one of his close friends was a student at the School of Pharmacy here. So I thought it was really interesting. That was the first thing he thought about when he thought of Oklahoma. He could have thought about Will Rogers or our numerous astronauts that we have grown here in the state of Oklahoma, one of them being right here, Weatherford, General Stafford, and of course the historic Route 66, and then of course there's always football. But no, the first thing he wanted to say was SWOSU. So with that, within a couple of years, that's when I was appointed to the RUSO board, and then I learned all about SWOSU. And it's such a pleasure to be back on the campus. It's been a while, and I don't think we can say thank you enough to the community, to President Butler for all of his efforts to make this happen. And I think it's really fitting he managed to fit it in before he retired. So a huge thank you. You cannot say thank you enough. I know it's already been said a few times, but again, you cannot say it enough, to the generous gift from Jerry and Margaret Hodge. So on behalf of the Oklahoma State Regents of Higher Ed, thank you again, and let's just have a wonderful, glorious day about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Holloway. On this next one, I think I'm in trouble. You should always give your regents a heads up if you want them to say a few words. And I apologize, Regent Winchester, but I'm out the door anyway. So, Regent Winchester and I go back quite a ways. Of course, as she knows, knew her father-in-law quite well, Dr. James Winchester, who was my optometrist for many years. And of course, many of you know, his son, her husband, serves on the Oklahoma State Supreme Court, does a great job there. But Susan and I served a period of time in the legislature together, and of course, became fast friends and worked on a lot of issues together. As chair of the RUSO board, Susan has done an amazing job in the past several years. And so representing Regent Carpenter and others of the RUSO board as our chair, Regent Susan Winchester. Susan?
Thank you, President Butler, and thank you for setting the stage about talking without notes, because as I walked in, President Butler says, and you're on the dais and you're going to be speaking. And I said, thank you very much. I wish I had a little heads up. But on behalf of Regent Carpenter, the other 7 regents, and myself, thank you so much for your generosity and your continued support of Southwestern. Randy has been talking about this and so excited about it, and I share in his enthusiasm and share in his appreciation. Your contribution to this campus will benefit not only our students here at Southwestern, but to me, the entire state of Oklahoma, with its emphasis on health education and providing needed health care, particularly for Southwestern, or the southwestern part of Oklahoma. As all of you know, this has been a very tough year, a little over a year now, particularly with the situations that we faced that were totally unexpected. SWOSU stepped up and administered, I think, 16,000 vaccinations for the people here, turned the event center into a vaccination center, and solved a lot of problems that we were facing at the time. I'm going to change roles just a tiny bit as well. I was also recently appointed as a cabinet secretary for Governor Stitt, and my job is regulation and licensing and regulation. And one of the agencies under my purview is pharmacy. And on behalf of your generous gift, and knowing that we still need that match, I've submitted a request to the governor and to the legislature that this be considered a high priority going forward. It's very beneficial, again, not only to our students, this part of Oklahoma, the entire state of Oklahoma, and now I have information to add that our students go other places as well. So highly respected when they graduate from here, and highly sought after as they continue in their professional life. So again, I cannot say thank you enough for what you've done, not only this time, but your many very generous gifts in the past, and look forward to working with you hopefully again as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Winchester. I'd like to introduce a couple of other people, if I could, for a moment. As Jerry talked about, we don't get to these positions or things like this necessarily on our own. We have a lot of support group, not only my family, but people in this community. And a couple of people that I want to recognize have been and are great mentors to me, and I would not be in the position I'm in without that. And one of the first ones I want to introduce is the 15th president of Southwestern Oklahoma State University, Dr. Joanna Hibbler. And I can't say enough about the impact that the late John Hayes had on me and affected what I am today. And I, again, would not be where I am today had it not been for John and Linda Hayes. And Linda, thank you for being here. You know, in closing, and let me also mention this, someone that's going with me, it's been a great help to me, and a great help on this is our provost, Dr. James South. James, thank you. And all of my VPs, past VPs, others, I see many in the room, thank you so much. In closing, I just want to mention something, and I hadn't thought about saying this, although many of you have heard me say this before, but with talking about General Stafford and others, I think this goes again to what Jerry and Margaret were talking about, the quality of programs and the national reputation that this institution has. I know many of you know a few years ago we were named by MSN as the 18th best public university in the entire country. 18th public university in the country. But one of the things I remember in this room, I had not been president for very long, about half a year, and we celebrated General Stafford's 80th birthday party, and he brought all types of Gemini and Apollo astronauts back. We had Neil Armstrong in this room. We had Jim Lovell, Fred Hayes, individuals like that. And of course, for any of you that have read the book Lost Moon or you've seen Ron Howard's movie Apollo 13, you're probably familiar with that very famous mission and how it turned into a successful failure by just bringing those astronauts back. And two of those astronauts, again, were in this room, Jim Lovell and Fred Hayes. And I went up to Fred Hayes and I said to him, Mr. Hayes, my name's Randy Butler. I'm president of Southwestern, and it's an honor to have you on our campus. And he looked at me very sternly, and for a moment I thought I had really said something wrong. And he looked very directly at me and he said, no, let me tell you something. He said, it's an honor for me to be on your campus because if it had not been for your graduates, we would have never gotten back alive. Now, that goes to the quality of all of our programs. This project specifically benefits health sciences, but in the end, it benefits the entire university. It will benefit every program on this campus, as all of our programs do. So I appreciate our faculty and staff who understand that, and I greatly appreciate our foundation boards, members, and alumnus. We have a great task ahead of us, and Dr. Lovell does too, and fully understands that, and is committed 100% to this, that we will become the center for health education in rural Oklahoma. We are going to turn out the health professionals that help all walks of life throughout this state. It will be a great benefit not only to this university, but to the future of this state. Thank you again for being here. We'll be glad to hang around in case you have any questions or anything, but it's good to have all of you here with us today for this important celebration. Thank you. dismissed.
Hey, great job. Thank you. This is big.
Kevin's great. Hey, thank you, Kevin.
Speaker
Well,
Lewis.
all right, I was Speaker of the House in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Randy was a new member on my leadership team. I was Speaker from 90 to 96.
Okay.
Then I went into higher ed. I taught